Hi everyone and welcome to a new video on the CBI channel. In this tutorial series we're creating a full stack Django and React.js application. This is not the first video of this tutorial series. We've already done two before. The first one is setting up our Python Django backend, and in the previous video we've taken a look at how to set up our React.js frontend. And in this video we're going to continue working on our React frontend by enabling page navigation. And we're going to do that with React Router version 6. And this is going to enable us to go to different URLs and display different components based on that URL. And to realize that, we're going to follow 5 steps. We're going to start by installing React Router DOM version 6, which is going to enable page navigation in our React frontend. Next, we're going to add browser router from React Router DOM to our index.js file. As a follow-up, we're going to create different JavaScript pages because we want to navigate to different pages based on the URL. And we're going to add different routes in our app.js file because those are going to be the different places our user can navigate to. And in the end, we're going to check out the result and see whether everything works the way we expect. So let's kick off with the first step of this tutorial series, and that is actually to install a package called React Router DOM. And React Router DOM is going to help us to navigate across pages using various of the functions. So to install it, I can use npm I React Router DOM. So I'm going to go back to my code, and I'm going to make sure that I am inside of the front-end terminal, which you can recognize by it saying node. And I'm just going to stop my server and I'm going to do npm I React Router DOM. And let's give it some time to install. So our install is now complete, and the next thing that we need to do is we need to wrap the entire code of our front end into something that React Router provides. And by doing this, we can use the codes of Router in our application. So I'm going to go to index.js because index.js wraps around our entire app into these code brackets. And this is a nice place where I can make the changes. So on the top of the screen, I'm going to import browser router as router from React Router DOM. We're going to wrap the entire code that we're rendering between these router brackets. So I'm going to copy this one, put it on the bottom right here, and just fix this indentation. And now my entire app, so everything that is going to be in app.js, is surrounded by these router tags, which means that we can use everything from router inside of our app.js file. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a number of files inside of our components folder. So we're going to start by creating a file called home.js. And this is the code that we want to see when we are on the home page. And the code we're going to place here is a React functional component. And I know that I can actually get this by typing in RAFCE. And this will highlight the React arrow function export component, which makes it a little bit easier for me to create a component. So now we have a basic code that's going to be displayed on the file called home. We have a constant called home, and it returns a div that simply says the text home. I'm also going to create a page that is called about. So I'm just going to say about.js. And here again, I can also just copy the code from my home. And then I just need to change the constant name to about and the export default to about. And just for illustration, I'm also going to create a new page called create.js. And this is where we'll create some new records in the future. And I'm going to call this constant create and also say export default create. And one thing that we of course also need to do is change the text, because on my about page I want to have the text about, and on my create page I want to have the text create. So we've now successfully installed React Router, and we've also enabled the use of React Router in our application by making a change to our index.js file. Now it is time to actually write the logic that is going to conditionally display our different pages that we've created based on the URL. And we're going to do that in our app.js file, because this app.js file is actually going to function a little bit as the urls.py file that we're used to in Python Django. So the first thing we need to do in the app.js file is do some imports. And we're going to start by importing routes and route from React router DOM. The other thing we need to do is we need to import all of the files that we have created previously. So I'm going to import home from that component home. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to also import about. And lastly, I'm going to import create. And you always take the name of the function. So if I'm in about, the name is going to be about. All right, now that it is settled, we need to make sure that within our div with our app, there is nothing specified in here. Because in here, we're going to define the routes that we have. And we're going to start off by defining the routes function. And within the routes, we can define individual routes. And we need two things for that to work. We need a path, and we will also need an element. And in the path, we specify the URL. So in this case, for example, when I specify like this, it's going to be the home page. And the element is going to be equal to the page that we want to show. So in this case, when the URL is equal to the default, I want to go to my home page. And we can do that by stating home. And I can just copy this over 2 times and state that, for example, when I want to go to the about route, we want to see our about page. And when I want to go to my create route, I want to see my create page. And by doing it like this, when we arrive at this particular URL, React will see the element and will render the element that is presented. So let's now test whether that's actually working the way that we expect. And we can start our server by stating npm start. Let's give it some time to run. All right, and our server has started. So let's take a look at the output. And when I arrive at our homepage, you can see that we get to see the text that we defined in our home.js file. And if I now on the top bar go to about, it will display the about text. And when I go to create, it will go to the create page. So our logic seems to be working. Now, the only thing to make this even better is to actually create a navigation menu or buttons that can direct us to the different links in our application so that we don't need to adjust this on the top bar. And that is exactly what we're going to be doing in the next video. Because this is the end of this video in the tutorial series on building a full stack Django and React application. We've already set up our Python Django backend and creating our React.js frontend. And this video we've also enabled page navigation with React Router. As I already mentioned, in the next videos, we're going to go further and make the React frontend look much, much better. And the first step towards that is creating a nav bar with material UI components. And after that, we're also going to continue and create a basic CRUD example where we're going to use the front end and the back end to write records, but also update and delete records to our database. I want to thank you very much for watching this video and this series. Please leave a like and subscribe if you like the content, and I'd like to see you in our next video. Bye bye.